So let's now talk about the different types of defects. So the first type is functional defects. Like we said before, we have a type of testing that's called functional testing. In this case, we have functional defects. So in functional defects, we mean that there is a functionality in the application that is not working, okay? So for example, if the forgot password functionality isn't working, we call this as a functional defect. Then we have visual or UI defects, and these defects are the defects in the UI or the user interface of the application. For example, here we have notifications and the word no older notifications is on them. It should be here below them. So this is a UI defect. Or the one with the cart that I showed you before in the previous video, when the word add to cart is not on the same line inside the website. So this is a UI or visual defect. Then we have content defects, and in content defects we have some misspelling in the application, for example, okay, or some words that should not be here. So this is content. For example, here we have a placeholder. It says say something nice, and it is repeated 2 times. So this is a content defect, okay? So for example, if a word inside the Arabic version of an application is not translated into Arabic, so this is a content defect. Then of course we have performance defects, okay? If the application is loading slowly, this is called a performance defect. For example, the lazy loading. Lazy loading. Lazy loading means this. When you find a loading inside your application, we call this lazy loading, okay? So for example, if the lazy loading is taking too much time, this is a performance defect. The last thing, which is not a defect, but we write a defect report for it, which is called a suggestion, okay? A suggestion is not a problem in the application, but it is something that from your perspective as a tester, you think that it would be better done in a different way. Okay, so for example, you say the font of the placeholder should be bigger. So this is not a defect. The developer doesn't have to solve it, okay? But you are suggesting a better way to use the application. The background color, for example, the images, anything that you think that would be better for the user, you can suggest it, but in this case, this is not a defect. So now this is, for example, an example defect report. We have a title, login, forgot password button isn't working. Then we have steps to reproduce: 1, click on login; 2, click on forgot password. The expected result is the button should be clicked and the user is redirected to a page when he can enter an email. Then the actual result is that the button isn't working, the environment that the issue appeared on, the priority, the type is functional, this is a high priority defect, then the screenshot. Of course, we don't write the defect report on Word or on slides like this in PowerPoint. We have tools for writing defect reports, and we will talk about these tools in later videos, okay? We will apply writing the defect report on Jira and also on Trello so that we can understand the writing of the defect report in a better way.